everyone, it's me, Robert, also known as the 41835, back for another Transformers review. Yep, I'm back, starting off a long run of Transformers reviews for the next couple of weeks, so expect quite a lot from the channel. So today, I'm taking a look at Transformers Prime Hotshot. Yes, a unusual toy, but before I look at the toy, a quick look at his bio, because frankly, he's one of the Prime characters that hasn't done a lot. So Hot Rod is young, he's impetuous, but he's also very enthusiastic when missions come, and he's always raring to go for his next mission. Now, he first appeared in the War for Cybertron game, the Nintendo DS version, which was entitled, I think, War for Cybertron Autobots, and in it his design and his character was very similar to that of Hot Rod's, Generation 1 Hot Rod's. In fact, you could almost say that it was rather Hot Rod than Hot Shot. However, he was called that name for some odd reason. And because War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron have now been grouped together in the same categories, apparently they're all linked and they're all in the same universe. So we have to take that into account when looking at the Prime character. So yeah, it's a very unusual figure. Very unusual character because he hasn't done much, and he heavily reminds me of the Transformers Armada Hotshot. So, onto the toy. So here is Hotshot in his vehicle mode, and as you can see, he's this quite stylish sports car. It's the same mould as Bumblebee, so it's the same car as Bumblebee. However, it's got so much paint apps that differentiates it from Bumblebee that you wouldn't tell that it's a straight up repaint. This blue is absolutely lovely on the car. It goes all the way through, and you've also got these racing stripes on the front. Now the colour scheme for me is very reminiscent of RID Sideburn. If you ever go and have a look at the figure, you'll notice that it's this shade of blue, but also got the stripes. It also reminds me of Cybertron Hotshot, which was again a sports car. Not like this, but quite similar, and it was blue, but very lighter blue, so I can see where they're trying to reminisce to make this into a sort of homage to those figures. But very, very nice. The car is very bulky, very bulky. It's small, but it's bulky. It's not like some of the recent Prime figures which have been like Knockout, for example. It's not a Knockout. It's a sturdy mould. You can feel it in your hands, and the plastic doesn't bother me. Yes, it's slightly hollow on the bottom, but who cares? It feels right. It feels good. It doesn't feel flimsy. It feels sturdy, and that's what you want from a Transformer. Now, obviously, it has the hole on the front of the bonnet here, which you can attach his guns, like so, and you can have a car mode with a gun. It doesn't really work. But hey, I mean, if you want a weaponised car mode, like from Dark of the Moon, there we are. Prime does it. Yeah, nice. A quick comparison of the size. I will get a Revenge of the Fallen figure. Here is Revenge of the Fallen Bumblebee, Battle Cannons Bumblebee, I think. And there are the two stacked up next to each other. As you can see, yeah, the recent decrease in the size of plastic has had an effect, but still, it's still bulky, and it's still like it, even though it's completely out of scale now with the previous cars in the Transformers line. It's still nice, and yeah, sturdy. It's everything you'd want from a vehicle mode. So, on to the transformation. So, while I transform this guy, I'm going to talk about Prime, because I've been watching Season 3 of Transformers Prime, or Beast Hunters as it's now known, and because I've recently got into Prime, I've got some thoughts on it. I'll just share it with you as I'm attempting to transform it, because you've probably seen the transformation for this mould 1001 times. So yeah, the opening for Beast Hunters was okay. I mean, Shockwave returns, that's always good. As a huge Shockwave fan, I loved it. It's good to see the one-eyed purple munching monster, as I call him, back on our screens. The Predaking, it's good, and yes, it works as a hunter, but I'd love it if it transformed. So far we haven't seen if it's got an alt mode, or if it even has the ability to transform, it would just enhance it so much if we saw that it actually did have a beast mode and it actually had a name, because in recent episodes we've seen it's quite intelligent. I mean, it hacked into the Nemesis's control panel to find out what Megatron was doing with Project Predacon, so it could have the ability to transform. It could be like an animated situation in which the first time we saw the Dinobots in animated, they never transformed. It was only at the end of the episode they were in when they suddenly had this ability and magically transformed. So it could be one of those scenarios, or it could be that we never see its transformation, which would be a real shame, because you have to be a Predacon. If you're a Predaking, you have to transform. Really, it's simple. If you're a Transformer, you transform. There are some exceptions to that, obviously, but then we won't go into those. So yeah, the new Prime looking very cool, very reminiscent of Galaxy Convoy or any other Japanese Transformers that came out around the 80s, especially Zone or Master Force era, reminiscent of quite a few of those toys, which is always cool, because when they hark back to the days of G1, I'm all for it. And he can fly now, which again, it's alright. I mean, they did it first of all in Revenge of the Fallen, with jetpacks, Bumblebee, and with a jetpack Optimus Prime, and then they did it in Dark of the Moon, and everyone was like, yeah, it's alright, yeah, so what? And now they're doing it in Prime, and they did it well. I mean, in the movies, I don't think they could have done it to its full potential, because the movies, let's face it, were bad. So anything they tried to do would look bad. But in Prime, it's work, I think. It works, slightly. Although, it's interesting to see where it goes, because will they make it that now that Prime can fly and has all these big abilities, that he's going to be overpowerful and he's going to win every fight, which actually we've seen that doesn't happen. For example, take the episode, which was it, where they was trying to find one of the Predacon relics in an oil field and they didn't win, basically. So yeah, he's not that powerful, but still, he's quite cool. The new intro, I'm not a fan of the new intro. I prefer the original one, because the music seems to be hyped up. It's got this dun 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 to it. Bit more, I hate to say rockish, but it's just a bit more metalized, if that's even a word. And I'm not a fan. I prefer the original. Ultra Magnus in it is great. I like his personality. I don't like the way he looks, and I'll get onto that when I review him. But yeah, his personality is so cool because it reminds me so much of The More Than Meets the Eye, Ultra Magnus. If you've read the comics, you know what I mean. Very by the book, you know, very regulations, rules, all this sort of stuff. So it's very cool. Smokescreen having a new paint deco looks more like Generation 1. And he looks like the toy that came with, I believe it was the Sky Hook or the ship for the Cyberverse lines. Now that he looks like that, so which means that toy is going to become even more popular with fans. And the Predacons and their connection to humans, that they were actually on Earth many years ago. Very similar to Beast Wars. In fact, the Beasts, in Beast Wars, when he landed on Earth, they took the forms of the fossil remains of what they could find. I know it's not exactly the same, but it's similar. And so it's a nice sort of nod back to Beast Wars. And hopefully we'll see more of that as the season progresses, because this is the last season of Prime, which is, it's a shame. But hey ho, Animated only got 3 seasons, and that was a show that should have got a 4th. But then again, that will never happen. So, while I've been talking, I have transformed Hotshot. So, time to look at this figure in his robot mode. So here is Hotshot in his robot mode. And as you can see straight up, it is just a repaint of Bumblebee, and it shows more in this mode than in his car mode. However, because the paint is so drastically different and he's got a new head sculpt, it doesn't matter. I don't mind. There's a nice red paint that's running throughout this figure, which you don't see in the car mode, but it's very prominent in his robot mode, and I love it. I absolutely love this colour scheme. Again, as I said before, very reminiscent to RID Sideburn. So yeah, really nice. And the head sculpt, if I can zoom in, try and zoom in, the head sculpt has been improved. that is an Armada reference if there isn't any. Because of the goggles. You can push the goggles down and he can form a sort of battle helmet. Very reminiscent of the Armada of the Hotshot from Armada, which it was an okay toy, but it's nice to see it's referenced here. But it still suffers from the same things that the Bumblebee mould did, which was empty back, empty, nothing really here, quite hollow. If you put this down, it sort of fills in, but then there's still a hollow back bit, and it doesn't really work. Of course, you can do the same setup with the guns, but I like to put them on one hand to make him look different from Bumblebee. And I feel that this mould works better for Hotshot than it does for Bumblebee. If there is a Bumblebee mould that you should get for Prime, it's the first edition, and then buy this as Hotshot, so you can see the difference between the two. A bit like the Fall of Cybertron Prime and the War for Cybertron Prime, which one you should think works better as Ultra Magnus. But that's a completely different argument for another day. So, articulation. His head is on a ball joint, which means it can look all the way up, it can look down, and it can look up. However, because there is an automorph piece of the transformation here, his head can also sort of bounce up and down, which is strange. And there is a way to fix it, because as you can see, mine doesn't go down all the way. Now that is because the gears in the chest are slightly too big. And thanks to Jim, Monkey Zen, who told me a solution to this, you just have to shave some of the gears down to be able to get that to fit nicely and snugly in the back, like so. But I'll do that eventually, and I'm not very good when it comes to modifying Transformers, or painting them for that matter. So his arms are on swivel joints at the elbow, like so. They can swivel all the way around, but when it gets to here, because it hits the chest, it struggles because it's a tight fit. The arms can also bend outwards about that far. They can bend on a ratchet joint, and listen to that. That is a ratchet joint and a half. We haven't seen a ratchet joint for ages. They can swivel as well, and the hands can not move. The hands are fixed in place, which is strange. I thought they could move, but apparently not. He has no swivel, which, yeah, is a bit annoying. It would have been nice if they had given a swivel hit, but hey ho. His legs can move on a ball joint at the hip, like so. They can bend at, I suppose you could call that the knee, but it's a bit too far down to be the knee. They can bend. They can also bend outwards, like so, but that's only due to transformation, and it sort of makes him in a weird pose, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. And finally, his legs can flip up and back due to the transformation. So overall, not massively articulated for a figure, but enough to get it into some good poses. And I mean, the doors at the back you can sort of do whatever you want with, and so you can do this. You can have this up like at the back, so he's got a bit more of a hood, or you can have it down like so. And I believe it could have clipped in, but I'm not sure about that. So overall, very nice. Would I recommend picking up Hotshot if you can find him? Yes, I would. I would say get this. If there's only one version of this mould that you should get, it's him, because he works so much better, and he's got better light piping, which I don't know if you can see, if it's going to show, but better light piping. And besides, if you're a fan of Hotshot anyway, or if you like Armada, or if you like RID, then this is definitely one you should pick up, because you'll recognise the character. So yes, that has been my review of Transformers Prime Hotshot. I hope you've enjoyed it, and sorry that it's been slightly not very long, to be honest, because there's not much to say about this character, because he is generally just a repaint of Bumblebee, and repaints of Bumblebee don't normally get much love and attention, I feel. But this is one that he should get love and attention. So you have been watching me do this review. I thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all next time with another Transformers review. But until then, goodbye everyone.